Hello and welcome to another video. This is the Bathtub and we've got a new video for you today. Now this is possibly a new low in the type of games that I could be playing. I picked it up. It's a free demo, so I must stress this is not in beta, it's not in alpha, it's a demo of a full game which is actually being released tomorrow, the 10th of August 2021. It's by a developer called Skyhook Games and the publisher is Curve Digital. Just give you a quick read through to see what Steam says about the game initially. Experience the beauty and detail of mowing the great British countryside in Lawn Mowing Simulator, the only simulator that allows you to ride in an authentic and expansive roster of real-world licensed lawn mowers. Fun. From prestigious manufacturers, Toro, Skag, I don't know what quite... think of that. Skag, is that a real thing? Okay, fine. And Stiga, as you manage your business. Okay, so this is literally as it says in the tin. You mow some lawns, but of course there is a bit more to it than that. So I'll just show you a bit about the game and what I think of it. Okay then, so we'll just start with the options. You have the general settings, as you can see here, just things to do with the language, the speed units, length units, a couple of other things, first person dot, don't know what that is, but yeah, fairly self-explanatory from this screen. Now the next one is the one that really seems to start grating on me. The game is compatible with wheels and pedals, and I'm using my Logitech G29. Now as you can see here, it's only showing keyboard controls. There's no way to map anything to a wheel, and there's no way to change this to wheel settings at all. The wheel works, but there's no way to map anything, so that's a massive gripe of mine straight away, and pretty amateur, to be quite honest. The next one is your video settings, so we're just playing in 1080p, very high quality level. Motion blur, now I'm not quite sure that's even needed because these things only move about 2 miles an hour, so fairly irrelevant in that sense. And we've got some audio settings, again, all relatively self-explanatory there. So when you start a game, it all sounds relatively promising. You have to create your own company, and the idea is you take that company, you earn reputation, you earn money, you buy better equipment, things that bolt onto the lawnmowers, that sort of thing, and you just improve your company, working through jobs, just getting better and better as you go on. That's the idea of building an empire, taking on people. Now, it starts off with picking a company name, picking a character name, logo, uniform, that sort of thing. So when you actually get to pick a logo, you get to choose if you want that displayed on the front or back or both for your shirt that you're wearing. If you choose any of those options, it doesn't work from the preview, so you can't see the logo previewed on your avatar. You can see it when you get into the game, that's fine, but it doesn't work on the preview, so you've got no idea what your logo will look like on the shirt from the preview. So that's something else that I feel is definitely broken. Once you've done all that and you've chosen your company name, your name, logo, colour of t-shirt, colour of hat, that sort of thing, you can choose to buy your first lawnmower. So when you start the game, you get a choice of 2, and whichever one you choose, you have to test drive it. You can't just buy it. When you choose to test drive it, you go through a process of starting off in the yard. You take the lawnmower off the back of a trailer, and you have to start it via various on-screen instructions, which explains how to then move the blades up and down, start the blades, stop the blades, all of those things. So everything is explained to you on the screen, but again, as mentioned earlier, the prompts for the tutorial don't let you use anything on the wheel, in that it doesn't tell you what to press on the wheel. It tells you what to press on the keyboard, which is a bit annoying because the buttons do work on the wheel, but you just have to work them out yourself. But again, they're not customizable. You can't map them to wherever you want to put them. So not very good and quite amateur, I would say, certainly. So when you eventually get it moving, you have to head towards a small piece of lawn at the back of the training centre come car park area where you start. And the target that you have to achieve is 20% of the lawn cut, and you have to do it at a certain length, between 6 and 7 centimetres, I believe, or between 2 certain lengths. So 20% might not seem very much compared to obviously 100% of it, but there is no designated pattern as to which you need to take, so you end up just drawing circles and various other amusing shapes in the lawn to occupy yourself whilst knocking up that 20% mark. It still takes ages, and there's no challenge along the way really. You just literally just drive around in circles, drive around in lines, bump into things, whatever. You can get damage from hitting things, so if you hit a tree, hit a wall, you can damage your blades if you don't drive on lawn. If you drive on concrete, you'll damage them, all of those sorts of things. And I believe your engine can overheat if you just keep your foot planted, which I did, but there doesn't seem to be any punishment really. I think the engine wears down slightly, but that's about it. So yeah, you just literally keep your foot planted, steer around a bit until you get to 20%, and you could probably do it with your eyes closed, to be honest. Just shut your eyes, move the wheel about a bit, keep your foot on the accelerator, done. Eventually you get to 20%, but pretty damn monotonous with very little thrown in to actually make it a bit more enjoyable. You have to make something that is called Lawn Mowing Simulator a bit more interesting, because if you don't, it is literally just as it says in the tin, and there needs to be something in there, and there could be something in there, I personally think, but certainly from the introduction there's nothing given to you to raise the bar or raise the expectation or raise the enjoyment levels from what you might be expecting from a title named such as this. Just following on from that really, in terms of the introduction, I did find that the braking, not that you need to brake too severely or anything, can become a little bit annoying, certainly with pedals. If you try and stop the mower, because it does need to stop, otherwise the forward momentum is just going to keep continuing, it literally is the same thing to reverse. So it's like having a control pad. You know, you would quite often in driving games use your brake. Once you've stopped, you'll start reversing. It's similar to this, but it's way too sensitive in this. And I can't explain it, but if you just brake, you literally stop, and rather than have a pause there, you'll literally just fly straight back rather than have any control over whether or not you're braking or you're reversing. It's just very much brakes, instantly reverse. That there's no real difference there, and it's quite annoying. But again, going back to one of my real earlier points, you can't configure anything. And yes, you can configure the pedal sensitivity in the pedal software itself, but in the game there's no way to do any sensitivity or configure anything. So again, it's that I feel is a letdown so far on that front. But the accelerating's fine, that's just going forwards of course, but yeah, the braking is too reversey, should we say. It should just be for a brake and then maybe a pause once you've stopped, then reverse, or a separate thing for reverse, but is what it is. But it just felt really peculiar. Just not on the subject of movement, but the camera movement as well. I use the mouse to move the camera around. It feels really heavy, and it doesn't seem to move in the direction you want, so you try and move up and down maybe, and you're really limited on where you can move it, and it's really clunky. It just feels awful to move around your character, move around your vehicle. It just doesn't seem to work very well. Like, again, can't put my finger on it, but it's just slow, heavy, doesn't always react. It's just clunky, really clunky, despite the views, because there's different views you can have, external and actually first person, so third person and first person, but all do allow movement via the mouse, but all of which are bloody clunky. Not good, not good. Once you've gone through the arduous task of completing your 20% of lawn, you can actually get on with the game proper. You decide to either purchase the one that you've been test driving, or you can pick the other alternative lawnmower and test drive that and pick that. But there was absolutely no way in hell was I going through another tutorial or a test drive, because I wasn't wanting to do the same thing again that I was oh so bored of the first time. So sod it. Could have been the worst thing in the world I was test driving the first time, but I'm picking it anyway just to save my life being waited any further, quite frankly. So once you do complete that, as I say, you are presented with a career map mode. So it is a physical geographical map, and you start off with one place that you can choose to work for. So you literally click on it. If you have various bits of equipment and various employees, you can then allocate the equipment to the job and the employee to the job. But at first, because it's of course just yourself with one piece of equipment, you just take the job yourself. You accept the contract. There's a monetary reward, there's a requirement of how quickly you need to do it, and there is also a requirement on length of lawn cut as well. And those are your requirements for completing said contract. And that's the way it works. So presumably, as you go through the game, you unlock more and more choices. You get more and more freedoms to pick what you like, and potentially more variation in the different jobs themselves. Now, something I actually really did like, and this is the only positive I think you're going to get from me on this, is the graphics. Certainly when you get into the real game and the career, the first task that you take is for a residential property's garden. And I must say, the house itself is like an old traditional cottage, and there's like an Aston Martin in the drive and another sports car. It looks really nice. You're free to wander around because you start on foot, you see. So you can go around and wander and just look at the place. And the scenery is really nice. You can't interact with anything other than your lawnmower, which you can, of course, start the engine, fill up with petrol as well as you go through the game. That's another thing that you do. You have to interact with that. But that is the only thing you can interact with. But actually, the scenery is really nice. And you have to go into the garden and work out, or try and find even more than work out, bits of things that are left in the long grass that are deemed as hazardous. So if you were driving over them, they would mess up your lawnmower. So for example, things like garden shears, big logs that have fallen off the trees, that sort of thing. And the reason for doing that is it actually improves your reputation. It allows you to obtain more money as well. If you don't remove all the objects, then you won't get as good a reputation increase as you may do otherwise. So it tells you how many things there are to find. I think on the first case it's 4 things, so all you have to do, and again there's no challenge to this, it's pretty awful in that you just walk around, you see something flag up that says, oh, there's something here, and you pick it up by pressing F and it's gone. It's literally as simple as that. No hardship whatsoever. The main task itself is of course the lawn. So just like the tutorial practice mission that you get when you're test driving the mower, you have a time limit and a percentage. Actually, no, you don't have the time limit in the tutorial, but you've got the percentage. But this time you have to complete 100%. So you have to do 100% of this huge amount of space, and it is sizable. And I think you get about 15-20 minutes to do it as well. So a reasonable amount of time, but still a target to work towards. I must say, at this point, your heart sinks because you think, I've got to literally sit here doing what I've just been doing in the test drive for 20 minutes at most. Granted, you might do it before, but you have to complete 100%. And I know working towards 20%, watching it go up in increments of 0.1 was just painstaking. And to get that to 100% just sounded like something I didn't really want to do. But anyway, for the sake of this, I had a go and I tried to come up with some logic in my mind, the best way to go about it rather than just drive around in random circles. I was going to do strips and then maybe do the edges and then work in between. Anyway, there was some logic there, but there was a hope that if I applied a logic, it might be more enjoyable, might be more quick. But all I ended up doing was just literally going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, you can't change it. It's what it is. That's how you would do it in real life. But it did just make me think, this is quite possibly the worst thing I've ever played in my life. Who came up with this as an idea? Because let's face it, there are every type of simulator available now. But this kind of goes in line with the old sort of saying of watching paint dry, watching grass grow. Obviously, this is the reverse of that. But it's just terrible. It's so boring. I actually got probably about 10% of the way through, maybe a bit more, of this particular target, and I thought, I've done nothing other than just drive up and down in straight lines and maybe around the edge of a flower bed or around a tree or something. I tried to make it more interesting myself as to plan it all out, but just nothing. Just make something more interesting. Maybe expand it out a bit so you have to do more gardening side of things rather than just mowing the lawn. It's absolutely laborious. I just had to stop. I got to 10%, whatever it was, and I just thought, I'm not doing this anymore. So I stopped recording, turned the game off, and that's it. If I was to complete that, I would have wasted another 10 minutes, 15 minutes of my life, and there was not a hope in hell I was going to do that. I don't think it's necessarily the developers' fault, because they have actually fulfilled what the game is. They've done exactly what the game is, but they've not tried to make it interesting or challenging or anything like that. Yes, they've got licensing from real world mowers, great, wonderful, whoop-de-doo, but they could have done something a bit more with it. And because this isn't in early access, it's not in beta, it's not in alpha, it's a full game, but obviously the demo of it, it's just not something that anybody, even if you like gardening or mowing the lawn or lawnmowers, I mean, I don't know how many people like that are out there, but I'm sure there are, who like all three of those things. I mean, it's not going to be appealing to anyone. I can't see who this is for. I just cannot see who this game is aimed at. It's a waste of money, I would say, if you buy it. It's probably a waste of their money for developing it. And I hate to be harsh, but I don't think I've ever been more bored in my life. You probably enjoy it more just waiting in a queue somewhere, or I don't know, just breaking a leg or something would probably be more interesting. But yeah, that's my view on it. And sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's not something that I would ever want to come back to. If it's something you were going to consider, don't. Basically, is the crux of it. I hope you've enjoyed the review and the video, at least the negative suggestions I've made towards this, but hopefully see you in the next one. Take care. Bye now.